Thanks a lot, Anna. And thanks a lot to UNISEC also for the opportunity today. I will shoot right into the presentation. So a bit of background on Astrofica Technologies. We are a high technology services and solutions provider. We have a keen interest in commercializing what we call actionable solutions from partner and proprietary spaceborne and ground-based assets. Founded in 2017 by myself and co-founder Jesse Ndaba. The company itself went fully operational at the beginning of 2019. So by industry standards, we are still very much early stage. However, we do bring a collective 50 years of combined space industry experience, more than 30 years of experience in the telecom sector, and core skills across the value chain from system engineering, project management, hardware and software, system integration and testing, data solutions and applications development, business intelligence, spectrum monitoring, and space commercialization. Just going through the journey shared between myself and Jesse, we ourselves back in 2006 were fresh out of university and taken into an internship program at the then Sunspace, which was the first satellite manufacturing company, spin off from the Stellenbosch University in 2006. We also formed part of the first cohort of 9 interns, specifically on the Black internship program as part of government's mandate for the transformation goals in South Africa. Myself, I went into developing my skills in assembly integration and testing. My mentor, Johan Erasmus, is actually online today as well. So it's really good memories that we always share in terms of the journey. Jesse went into the program solutions office at Sunspace. And after Sunspace, we both relatively close to each other's career paths, joined Space Advisory Company or Space Commercial Services. I continued as a specialist advisor for AIT on space programs for the group internationally. And roughly around about that time, we also founded Astrofica. Astrofica, I think, was a shared passion between myself and Jesse. We always knew we wanted to do something. We wanted to leverage off our skills that we learned in the space engineering framework and contribute towards the sustainable development goals, contribute towards socioeconomic upliftment and development. We were given opportunity at CPUT under Professor Robert van Zyl at the time, who also had a very, highly good respect for myself and Jesse in terms of what we do. We demonstrated our professionalism and capability under the Astrofica banner, helping the university with the assembly integration and testing AIT project management. And we were also given the opportunity to broaden our lens in the space industry by serving as consultants on the Department of Trade and Industry's revised framework to look at the space development framework and the way the landscape in South Africa has changed since 2009. And that really started gaining momentum enough for Jesse and myself to cut the umbilical at the beginning of 2019 and go into Astrofica full time. And I think, we haven't looked back since then. It's been a exciting journey. With COVID, I refer to it as a Corona coaster that all entrepreneurs typically go through. But we've also had an opportunity in 2020 to run an internship program with human capital development being something that's really close to myself and Jesse. And having sat on this other side of the fence as interns, we felt we needed to do this to see if we could create a flagship program in industry that implements everything that we would have wanted to have seen and had seen on our program in order to create this talent pipeline out of university into industry and impacting in tangible solutions at the end of the day. I'm not going to go too much into why space. I think the majority of the participants today understand the sector as being something that is multi-sector. Whether we know it or not, we are using components of space-based technologies in our everyday lives, knowingly and unknowingly. The global space economy, year in, year out, since I joined space in 2006, has just been on an upward trajectory. And it may seem as a biased view, but when compared to many other sectors, it's been one of the most resilient sectors that has survived not just the economic crisis, but also the COVID pandemic. And in fact, it's been a Felix Scalper in that it's been able to continue developing at an exponential rate with some projections over the next decade going more than $1 trillion US dollars. So there's really a strong market demand when it comes to what space can do, not just on the commercial and government, but in terms of improving of everyday lives. This slide for me is something that was fine-tuned for the South African and African context, but for this platform, I think it's relevant on a global scale because space itself is global. It's an enabler of the economy at large. Without space, economies will become less and less effective and competitive over time. And an example of where the competitive capability comes in is in financial trading or risk management, where it's down to parts of the sector enabled to not just access the data, but to mitigate risks. It is an enabler of the currently disadvantaged people. Without space, there is no connectivity for the disadvantaged, no access to data. And without it, it will perpetuate the inequality that currently exists, not just on the continent, but across the globe. It is an enabler of governments and government agencies. Earth observation data, we know about it, has continued to provide quality data for better decision-making and management of national resources and services, saving not just billions of dollars per annum, but lives as well. And the proof is there. It's compound annual growth rate. It's in some areas more than 100%, EBITDA over 15%. And I think from an African perspective and South Africa in particular, there's a capability that collectively exists on the continent together with international partners that can be leveraged on immediately to provide the change that we've been speaking about. Coming to the internship program itself, we were given the opportunity, very interestingly, with interest outside of our traditional space funding. The funding for this program did not come from space agencies. It did not come from custodians of space programs in South Africa. It actually came from media and ICT sector for skills enhancements that traditionally fund the big companies from Amazon to Microsoft in terms of the development of the digital economy. And we were fortunate to present at a conference in terms of what Astrofica has done and land on the radar of these sponsors who told us, can you use space as a vehicle to promote 4IR? And for us, the answer was definitely yes. And latched onto that, which was the media and ICT CETA company, was the opportunity by the Skills Development Department of the Western Cape government that came on board later on to complement the stipend that was given for this program. I think the pot of funding was minimal, and it definitely could have been way more. But we really felt that we needed to do this to serve as the first order proof of concept for what Astrofica could do. And I'll talk a little bit more about how industry also came together to make sure that this program was a success amidst the COVID pandemic. So the program started in March of 2020. We had a specific aspiration to not just focus on one vertical, not just on satellite engineering. We really wanted to take our interns on a journey that spanned the space value chain, exposing them to not just what Astrofica's core capability is, but what opportunities are available across the value chain. And for that, we started with the space segment, the mission analysis, what goes into space, what goes into building of satellites, mission designing, et cetera, specifically things we would refer to as upstream. And then we went on to the midstream, which refers to now that you know what you want with your satellites, and the focus was that at the end of the day, the satellite is not the end goal in what we're trying to achieve through space-based technologies. It is a necessary goal that provides us with that critical insight that cannot be done by terrestrial systems. And now that you have your satellite up there and you know what it's going to be doing, how do you communicate to the ground? And there comes in the midstream and the ground segment and ground infrastructure. How does that come together in terms of moving further downstream now to once you receive the data, what do you do with the data in order to process it to make sure that there's tangible solutions that users who may not necessarily understand the tech can actually see the benefit in their value chains. And I think that's for us something that Astrofica has also learned through great experience in terms of our 15 to 16 years in this industry. And that is really what we're trying to achieve. For us, it's a $2 million to $3 million satellite that goes up. For our clients, it's really, should I invest? Should I plant or harvest now? Should I act now before the imminent disaster strikes? And that's really a saving of orders of magnitudes greater than the investment that went into that satellite that provides them with that data. We were also fortunate to expose our interns to what I call the industry giants. So there were quite a few celebrities that walked through our internship area, which was housed up at the facility in the Western Cape here called HOTEC, which is now under the Space Tech ownership as part of the state-owned entities. Massive satellite facilities. We had an access to more than 200 square meters of space where our interns could engage with each other, where we could conduct our lessons and some of the hands-on technical parts of the program. And that really was what we tried to achieve. This is the class of 2020. I'll go a little bit more into the statistics, which I think it's really points out to the celebration and achievements of this program. And one of the things that I really love about this program is that besides the criteria from our sponsors, which was that our cohort had to be South African, and had to have a certain level of qualifications, we looked at how do we bring a narrative that challenges the status quo. And the status quo currently is that space is really out of our grasps. You require a summa cum laude degree from top universities on the continent, in country, and across the world. And the barrier for entry for us getting into space needs to be, you have to have a minimum of 5 to 10 years of working experience. And that really, makes space something that I believe, myself included when I first started, understanding that there's a space sector, you really don't have that hope. But we decided, let's challenge that. So we actually selected interns that did not necessarily have engineering backgrounds. We actually took on interns that our sponsors weren't happy with, that we decided we're going to fund them out of our own pockets. And it's interns that had a matric qualification with no formal university experience, but had shown or demonstrated to us that they were willing to continue their studies with certificates of excellence, of short courses. And for us, the criteria for this internship was just, we needed to see the passion. And, I'll talk a little bit about the statistics. For me, the statistics really speaks volumes, in that we had a total number of 30 interns. 29 of them were from South Africa. Again, South Africa being the sponsors' criteria. We did have one from the United States, University of Illinois, sponsored through VA Corps as part of the exchange program. Very interestingly, there was more than 27 individual applications that came to Astrofica when we started this from countries on the continent: Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia, Zimbabwe, and Mozambique. And I think that speaks volumes, and perhaps, to the audience here, in terms of a collaborative project or program where countries, see this as an opportunity to collaborate, to foster centers of excellence and advancement through programs like this in a collaborative manner on the continent and globally. The age groups, it ranged from between 20 to 34 years old was the oldest. We had a good mixture of males and females. We also had a balance between the backgrounds where these interns came from. Quite a few of them came from rural, disadvantaged settings. The educational backgrounds spanned from students that were still are still part of their undergrad program, what's referred to as the work internship learning programs, or the world programs, all the way to a PhD in nuclear physics. We had interns with national diplomas in architecture and human resources, but they were really, really keen on getting an opportunity to learn about space and see how that could help them find their way into industry. I will just move this. I'm hoping this is not blocking the screen, but we had one dropout in the first quarter that was not in any way due to the fact that there was a mismatch with what Astrofica was doing, but because she was presented with an opportunity to pursue a full-time career in full-stack development where her passion lies. And currently, the real metric for me for the achievement, we use quite a lot of litmus tests to see whether a program was successful or not. But for me, the real achievement from an Astrofica side is that, the majority of our interns have found their way into industry. 7 of them are directly involved in the space ecosystem here in the Western Cape, 2 of them in Astrofica as well. Others have found their calling in high technology sectors, from renewable energy to geophysics. A few of them have decided to continue their studies, specifically, in the space and engineering sector. And also, we are currently also looking at making sure that the goal for me is to make 100% of that uptake find their way into industry, where we still have about 5 of our interns that are working part-time on various projects, but haven't really found employment. So that for me it's really what sings or celebrates, how programs like this through space are able to provide the real economic change. And this is just some of the highlights. I mean, I couldn't share it all in this presentation, but if you do have a chance, you can Google Astrofica's internship program is building a talent pipeline for Africa's space industry on Space in Africa, and read much more detail what we achieved and what we're trying to achieve. So we exposed our interns across the space value chain, from the facilities to mission control, to even the fact that some of our interns got involved in the GIS aspects of helping a company develop the first order of a flood modeling prediction tool, which really was something awesome to see from them. And we also had our interns participate directly in designing the 3D CAD renditions, as well as doing the hyperspectral data analysis for Astrofica's own aspirations centered around hyperspectral data. So, in summary, for me, human capital development programs, I think, the space industry and satellite HCD programs present an ideal mechanism for advancing science and technology. At Astrofica, we, being on both sides of the fence, we understand the importance and value of skills development and knowledge transfer to our clients and governments as well, in providing general and client-specific programs as integral parts of everything that we do as in our value-added system. Space is something that's very close to us, firmly domiciled in Astrofica, and we have a rich heritage that boasts our technical and innovative capabilities. And we did not stop after the 2020 internship program. We continued to work on programs together with non-government organizations, specifically in the secondary and tertiary sector. We also partnered with Stellenbosch University in a high altitude balloon outreach programs together with NGOs, and I think we also continue hosting exchange programs from the University of Illinois. Last year, we had 6 interns from the university, specifically focused on downstream data applications together with Astrofica. And yeah, that's just my talk for today. If there's any questions, I'll be more than